So under the hood, this is the main engine battery for starting the engine. There's also a dipstick down here. That's for your engine oil. This is your engine oil fill. Your washer fluid reservoir. This is the main fuse box for like your headlights, tail lights. All of the engine fuses are located in there. This is the generator service compartment. This can be started from the inside or the outside. I'll show you inside where the switch is located. This is accessible for maintenance, and you'll see the yellow dipstick so you can check the engine oil in the generator periodically. When we get inside, I'll show you where to start that. This is the house battery. So this is the battery that runs all the lighting and everything inside the RV. This is the vent for your furnace. This is the venting for your water heater. And this is the venting for your refrigerator. So by the way, all of these things so far, these are all controlled from the inside. You don't have to come out here and mess with any of that stuff. I'm just going over this so that you are aware of what's here and you know where things are located. And generator, furnace, water heater, and refrigerator. I'll show you when we get inside how to actually use these things. We had put water in here previously and we're in the process of draining it. We have well water here, and when we're not going to be using the RV, it's recommended that you drain any water from the system just so you don't have an odor develop from stagnant water. On your water heater, this is done. You'll see there's a little drain right here that I'm turning. I've already drained this, so I mean, you can see we're not going to see any water coming out right now, but when you're not using the RV, it's good habit to come in and you just loosen this and the water will come right out onto the ground. So that's how you drain your water heater. Back here, this is where you drain your freshwater tank. If you look in this rear compartment, you'll see the tank exposed, and you can see it's still got about half tank water in here from our testing. So we're going to drain that out just so we don't leave our well water on board for too long. When you go camping, this is where you would fill your fresh water. So you're going to see a port here. It's a large opening. This is to fill your tank. If you put a hose there, it fills your tank. And that allows you to bring water with you so you can use this on the road. If you go to a campground that supplies water, you're going to connect to this port. And you'll see on the door there's a little flap you can open, and it lines up with that. And this allows you to leave your hose connected. When you go to a campground, you're not going to use this. You're going to use this. This is for a campground. This is if you're traveling and you want to have water on board. This tank, I think, holds 42 gallons or something like that. So that's what you use while you're driving, or if you stop at a rest area, or if you're at a state park or someplace where they do not supply water. That's when you would utilize your onboard water system. This is for a direct connection to a hose. You just basically, you screw the hose on, lock the door, and that would be what you'd use at a campground, at a campsite. This is your fuel filler over here. This is if you've got cable. You can hook up the cable. Down here, these are your wastewater drains. And you'll see there's two valves. There's a large valve on the left, small valve on the right. The large valve is for your toilet. That's the black water tank. But when you're through camping, you're gonna pull that valve and that drains off your black water. The valve on the right is for your gray water, which is your sink and shower in this RV. So you got two waste tanks, gray and black. There's a gauge inside you can monitor so you see when it's time to empty those. This door is the electric cord. So this comes out and is to plug in electrical power. So this is the adapter that will convert from a standard plug to an RV plug. Now when you go to the campground, obviously, you're just going to use this plug. But if you wanted to plug it in at home, that's when you'd use this adapter. Now, if you look in the compartment, you'll see a receptacle that you can plug this into. And the reason you would plug this in is if you want to utilize your generator function. So you can either plug this in to external power, or you can plug it in to generator power. I'm going to leave this plugged into generator because when we get inside, I'm going to show you how to start the generator so that you have power inside. These are just storage compartments over here. They're available for use. This is the propane tank, and you'll see there's a gauge here for LP gas. There's also a main shut-off valve here. All right, and when you're going to be putting the RV into storage, that's when you would shut that off. Okay. Okay, we're going to check a couple things up here before we get started. Down here, there's a few things. This is a brake control if you were ever to pull a small trailer. This is to run your trailer brakes. It's not powered on right now because there's no trailer connected, but if you connected a trailer with the proper braking system, this would activate. There's also a button here that says emergency start. And you can hear the clicking when you engage that button. What that does is will actually jump start your engine using the house battery. So if you ever get into this and the engine won't start, battery's dead, you can hold down this emergency start button, and while you're holding that with your left hand, try to start the engine normally, and that will jump start and boost. So hopefully your engine will start. Down here you'll see, so this is by the entry door, a button that says battery disconnect, and you'll see it's green right now. And if we push this down, you'll hear a click and then the green light shuts off. If you push it up, you'll hear a click and the green light turns on. That connects or disconnects the main RV battery, so not the engine. This is for the house battery, what they call a house battery. And when you're storing the RV and you're not going to be using it, you turn that off. And that's so your battery doesn't go dead. while it's in storage. But anytime you're driving, camping, or using the RV, this is left on. The only time you shut that is when you're in storage. So we're going to leave it on right now so we can continue to go through the RV. There's a brown switch here also. It's not labeled, but what that is for your electric step. And it's actually what they call a electric step lockout mode. Normally, whenever you open and close the door, the step will go in and out. So it's off. Now I'm going to turn it on. And now you can see the step will move. Obviously, when you get to the campground or wherever you're going to be situated, you don't want this step going in and out 100 times a day every time you open and close the door. So once you're parked and situated, you turn it off, and that will lock the switch out, lock the step out, so it's not moving in and out constantly. Okay. So most of the lights in here, there's just a switch to turn them on and off, okay? You can switch those on and off. There's a vent up here. This has a cover over it too for rain, so you can leave this open all the time for ventilation, and that's a great idea because that's going to prevent this from getting like real stuffy inside, especially when it's hot out. This is what I was looking for. So in here, this is the wiring for your TV. It goes through the cabinet, across the ceiling to the TV, okay? You'll see there's a little green light and there's a button. And what that does is actually turns the antenna on and off. So if you hook up the cable, you have to switch that off. But if you don't have cable and you want to use the antenna, then you have that switched on. This is your antenna, by the way, right here. This allows you to raise and lower the antenna. If you turn this crank, the antenna goes up. If you turn it counterclockwise, the antenna comes down. Okay, this is the stove, this is a manual light stove. This does not have an igniter. So when you go to light this, you're going to need to have either a lighter or one of those long clickers. And what you would do is just turn this to light. And now that starts your gas. And then you're going to have to go in here with a clicker and give it a spark so your burners will light. The oven's the same way. To light the oven, you're going to rotate this to where it says pilot. And now you have to push in like this with your thumb. So see, I'm now pushing this in. Then you'll come in here with your igniter. And you're going to see this tube. It's centered in the screen right now. And that's where you hold your flame to light the pilot. Once the pilot's lit, you can turn your temperature up, and that will actually start the main burner. Now when you're through with the oven, you go all the way to off so that the pilot goes off. You don't leave the pilot running when you're not cooking. You shut this off. So that's for the oven. Top burners, just remember, there's no pilot. The top burner, you just put a match and turn it on, and that starts the burner. It's pretty simple. There's a fan here. You just push this over, and that turns on the exhaust fan. There's a button here that says test, and this is your monitor panel. And this is going to show you battery condition on the right. It shows you your LP gas, fresh water, and your holding tanks. Fresh water, remember, that's your water supply that's in the back. I'm in the middle of draining that. It still has about 1/3 in it. Holding tank 1 and 2 are your black and gray tanks. They're empty right now, but as you use the RV, you'll see those start to fill. And once they're at full, that's, you know, you have to empty them. There's also a light here. You'll also see a switch that says water pump. And I don't know if you can hear it kind of buzzing in the back, but what the water pump does is creates water pressure. So you could use your sink and shower when you're on the road. Anytime you go to a campground and you're connecting in to a hose, you don't need the pump. So the pump is only used if you're not connected and you're running in a self-contained situation. That's when you turn the pump on, and that allows you to use sink, shower, toilet, etc. while you're in the RV. But at the campground, you don't need the pump. You're connected to the hose, you're using their water, no need for the pump. Over here, you'll see a couple more switches. This one here is not really labeled, but you'll see it says Atwood, which is your water heater. And this is off right now, as you can see. But once you get to your campground, if you're ready for hot water, to take a shower, you're just going to turn this on. You'll see the red light come on for a few seconds, and then once it successfully starts, the light will shut off. Now, if the light comes back on after a few minutes and stays on, that's telling you there's a problem with the water heater and it didn't start. And a lot of times that's because you're out of propane, or you maybe forgot to turn your propane system tank on and it can't actually start. So that's, you'll see the light come on, and after a few seconds it'll shut off. You might hear what sounds like a blowtorch or maybe even a pop when the hot water heater starts, and that's the burner starting, and it's using your propane to heat the water. After about 20 minutes, you should have hot water, and this will automatically maintain the temperature for you and start and stop as it's needed. Now, it's important that you don't turn this on in a dry setting. So if you don't have water in your camper, don't turn this on, because you can overheat the system and cause damage. So always make sure you have water running first before turning on your water heater. This switch is to start and stop your generator. And when you start this, you always hold down stop first, and you'll see the red light just come on by my thumb. That will prime the generator fuel system so it starts quicker. So you always hold it to stop for 15 seconds and then start. And you can hear it started up almost instantly because we primed it. If it's been sitting a while, you may have to repeat that cycle a few times. Now, this generator runs off your main engine fuel tank, so it's using the same gas your engine uses. However, once you hit a quarter tank, the generator automatically turns itself off. That's a safety feature so that you don't have no gas. So if the generator is not running, it may be due to the fact you only have a quarter tank of fuel. These are your latches. You have to basically pull this, and then when you close the door, it clicks. Okay, so this are the controls. This is on right now. If you want to turn it off, you just hold this down and it shuts off. Turn it back on, hold it down, and it turns on. You'll see there's a mode button here, and if you push mode, you can see it goes from AC, LP, auto. You always want to leave this on auto, and auto will automatically change between gas and electric as needed. So you'll never have a situation where this is not running if you have it on auto. If you wanted to test LP gas, for example, before you take a trip, then you can manually put it on LP mode, and that'll force this to run on LP even if you have electric power. Sometimes when it's really hot, 95 or 100 degrees, you may want to tell this LP gas, and these refrigerators get a little colder on gas than they do auto or AC, electric mode. So sometimes when it's really hot, if it seems like it's not cold enough, you can try the LP gas mode. The other thing in the campground, especially if the campground's full, if they have low voltage because everybody's got their air conditioning cranked up, low voltage is going to cause this to run warm. It's not going to be as cold. So that's why, even though you have electric, you may want to opt to use the LP gas mode. But normally, put this on auto and let it do its own thing. You can adjust the temperature with this button here too. It goes to 9. That's the coldest. 1 is the least cold. We're going to put this on 5, which is right in the middle. That changes the temperature in the fridge. Now these RV refrigerators, these take about 6 hours to get cold, so you have to turn this on way ahead of time in order for it to cool down. This is the thermostat for heating and air conditioning. Pretty simple. You just set your temperature over here, and then over here you're going to tell it it's off right now. As you can see, if you want heat, you push that down to heat. If you want cool, you push it all the way up to cool. If you put it on fan, it just runs the air conditioner fan to circulate air. It doesn't actually get colder or warmer. Fan is just circulation. While you're on cool, you can also change the speed to high or low. And you can see that there's high-low auto and high-low on. And the difference is, in auto mode, once it reaches your set temperature, the entire system will turn itself off. If you have it on the on mode, once it reaches your temperature, it will continue to circulate air, but it will not get any colder. Usually people will leave this in the on mode. And this is where your air comes out of, your ducts here. These are removable too. Sometimes people take these out because it lets a little bit more air blow down. You can screw them up also, and basically so you don't get any air. So you can pull them down a little bit or you can just remove them entirely, up to you. You'll also see here that these you can open and close. This sends the air directly out of the air conditioner into the living room area. So if it's a real hot day, you may choose to open these up. That's going to get it the coldest in here. But at nighttime, you're going to want these open so you get airflow to the different areas in the unit. But if you want it really cold, open these up. That's where it's going to work the best. So in here, you'll see there's a little switch right here. You just twist this to turn the lights on and off. There's also an outlet over here. This is a ground fault outlet in case, you know, something gets wet. This will shut off your power. This runs other outlets in the RV. So if one of the outlets is not working, you may have to come and check this out. Get it to reset. Your shower, this is kind of self-explanatory. Just set your temperature on there. This part of the shower head, I only have one hand, I can't really do this, but if you rotate, if you hold the shower head and you turn this, it turns the water on or off, so you can pause the water while you're doing shampoo and stuff like that. The toilet, basically there's a pedal and the pedal flushes the toilet. If you push the pedal just a little bit, so just push it down about an inch, that fills the bowl with water and all the way flushes. These toilets do not automatically refill like at home, so you have to manually fill these toilets with water before use. More water the better, because then the better it's going to drain. There's also a vent here that can crank open, and there's a fan button, so you can turn that on and off when you're taking a shower. There's also a secondary fan back here. This is an automatic fan. You see there's a lot of knobs and stuff on here. This is a little complicated, but this is motorized with a thermostat and a rain sensor, okay? The way this is designed to work is if it gets too hot in the camper, it's going to automatically open and turn the fan on. This is where you set your temperature if you want to use that function here, okay? This knob is your fan speed, and you can see it goes from 0, which is no fan, up to 3, which is high fan. Right now it's on high, and I'm going to show you how to operate this here. Next, you'll see there's a little switch. There was a sticker on this switch with a picture of an open vent and a closed vent. The sticker's kind of worn away, but if you push this switch to the left, which that's supposed to be a picture of an open vent, if you push this over, you'll see the knob starts to turn, and this is actually opening the vent now. And once it opens far enough, you'll see the fan start up. Okay, now the fan's running. This is running in exhaust mode, which means it's blowing air out. If you wanted to change that, there's a button here, it says in, and this will blow air in. So you can do this either way you want. I'll leave it on out. That's usually how these are run. If you wanted to change your fan speed, once it's open, you can use the knob. If you want to just leave it open with no fan, you can turn that to 0. And that leaves the fan off, but the vent open. When it's time to close the vent, you just flip this switch to the closed position, and that will start lowering the vent. Now, if you flip this switch to open and it doesn't want to open, there's two things you have to check. First is the temperature. Make sure this is set low enough so that it wants to open, because if it's not hot enough, it won't open. Second is the fan control. You have to have the fan turned on to get this to start to open. And of course, once it's open, you can then turn the fan off. But if you don't have this turned on, the knob doesn't turn, as you can see. So if it doesn't open, check the temperature, check the fan, and then it should open. And you can see it's going up again right now. I'm going to switch it to close and let the thing close up. Okay. So that's everything in the RV that we go through. There's a remote here for your TV. This TV, or any newer TV, by the way, whenever you run this, you have to run an auto channel scan. I'll show you how to do that. On your remote, see a menu button down in the lower left, and you go over to channel and you go down to auto scan. That will find all your local channels for you and load them into the TV's memory. Okay, that's everything inside the RV. We're gonna go outside. The last thing is the awning. I'm gonna open and close the awning. If you have any questions, feel free to call. You can also email or text our main number. If we're closed, I'll get the texts. If you have a question or if you get how to do something, please reach out and see if we can help you out. Thank you. Before we go outside, we're going to shut down your air conditioning and your generator. And one thing I just want to point out to you, always turn off your air conditioning first before switching off your generator. So when you do the awning, start with the door closed and make sure if anyone's in the camper, they know not to come flying out, because there is one point during the opening process where the canvas is low and the door may damage the canvas. So just make sure the door stays closed for the next minute. So first thing to do, there's knobs here. Make sure the knob is loose if it's not already. And here, make sure this release is up. I'm gonna do that on both sides. Okay, knob's already loose and the release is up. Bear with me, I'm doing this with just the one hand here. Up top you'll see there's a release lever up here, a little manual release. So what you can do is use the round end of this to reach up and pull that down. Okay, so once you've pulled that lever down, you'll want to find the strap. Should be in the center somewhere. You're going to hook that and walk backwards, and this should start to unwind on you. Now, sometimes the arm will get stuck, and if you start pulling and it's stuck, come over and put your hand on the arm and kind of give it a jog and get it to loosen up. So we're going to pull this fully down. Once you get to the end, you'll see the flap. So this is when you want to make sure no one's gonna fly out with the door, because the door, well, it might clear, I don't know, but still better safe than sorry. Grab this arm. This is gonna slide and snap in. When you get to the end, you might have to push it here with your thumb and it clicks. What you're gonna do now is tension the canvas. If you see there's like a bow in the canvas, pull down here. That tightens the canvas. A little tricky with just one hand here, but pull down on the canvas or on the arm and tighten the knob. You pull down on the arm. That tightens the canvas. And then you tighten the knob, and that makes that tight. You do the same thing down this end. You can see the canvas, if there's a little bow in it. Slide this up, click it in, pull down, grab it right here, pull down, tighten the knob. That keeps it taut. And then this is your lift handle here. And you'll see a series of holes in here. So what you do, you lift this up into position. That raises the awning, and you'll see your pin comes through. Always visual check that pin comes through. Sometimes if the pin's only through halfway, jog it back and forth, and that'll make sure the pin comes through the full length. Same thing on the other side. Lift that into position, verify the pins through, and that puts your awning at operating height. Now, if it's raining, you're gonna lower one side down at least a foot. You have to do this for water to run off. You also have to monitor this to make sure that it doesn't start filling up with water in the center, because the size of this awning can collect water. So you'll always lower down one side. To lower it fully, you just drop this down until it stops. Loosen the knob. Under here, you're just gonna put your hand here, pull this down gently, and that unlocks this. So see, that's locked. To unlock, you pull down, and you lower that. Remember to leave the knob loose still. This is detachable. You'll see there's a release here. And this is to take it off the camper. Again, I didn't do it straight with the, but you can make it, you can do it like that too, so you're not walking into this arm. If you do that, you just have to remember to stake this down. That's what the two holes are for. Safest way is to leave it on the camper. And remember, if it's windy or stormy, to close it. Never leave it open in a wind or storm. Loosen that. Remember, we're gonna pull this down gently. And I say gently because it's just plastic. You don't wanna, they break easy, so just, see, it only moves a little bit. Okay. And to roll this up, this strap, if you have two people, have someone holding the strap and have someone flip the lever. If you're doing it by yourself, you're gonna walk the strap over. I'm gonna wrap my hand once. I'm gonna flip the lever. And you'll see there was a sticker here that says roll up, roll down, kind of worn off, but you're basically just gonna flip this lever forward. And now it's gonna wanna roll up. And if you can get can get the strap back to the center before you roll it all the way. It's doable with two hands. I only have one hand working right now, so you're just going to go up easy with this. You're going to want to use the wand because it's spring loaded. So you just use the wand to roll this up the rest of the way, and don't let it go because it'll take off real fast on you. Okay, once it's rolled up, the last thing to do is to just tighten the knob, and you don't have to crank it tight, just snug. And then you're gonna push this lock down. You'll have to squeeze this together to get the lock in fully. That's your travel lock. You do that on both sides. Tighten the knob and push the lock down. And then it's ready for travel.